Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. More milestones coming up this year for LeBron, and is continuity for the Lakers a good thing or not? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always going to be free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 25,000 subscribers. Leave us questions, leave us comments. The best ones, we use them as inspiration for the show and often read the comments live. So you can hear your name on a very, very influential sports podcast. Reminder, you can also check out Locked On NBA as your second listen of the day. A great way to keep up with what's going on around the league, local information, people like us on it all the time. And you can get that on the part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So
speaking of, by the way, really quick, the comments that people leave in the YouTube page, wanted to actually offer a correction and retraction from Wednesday's show that a few people in the comments section pointed out. When we were talking about the mailbag question that was posed to us about whether the Lakers should, can, however you want to phrase it, rebuild around Anthony Davis post LeBron, we ended up talking about LeBron as having 3 more years under contract when it's actually 2. Mm-hmm. It's this coming season plus an option season. I listened back to it, and we actually began the show correctly stating the terms, but then I think the details got muddled in both of our heads as we started talking about a theoretical that Brian brought up about LeBron playing through 2028, ending his Lakers career, then ending his basketball career with that summer's Olympics. Honestly, this mistake on our end doesn't fundamentally change the conversation because rebuilding around AD at age 33 in 2026, when LeBron is currently slated to be a free agent, is still difficult to do.
And nobody knows exactly when he's going to retire anyway. So
right. And if you're looking to rebuild around Anthony Davis in the most ideal setting, which this question was in a lot of ways posed to us, the Lakers are behind the 8 ball to do that with the most optionality possible. But obviously that is still incrementally easier than rebuilding beyond 2026 because LeBron's still there. Either way, we appreciate it when people point out when we make mistakes. Be sure to do that. We will correct ourselves, and we like when you hold us accountable.
So one thing that we do know LeBron will be playing this year. So
we double checked. He will.
He's already like the leading scorer in NBA history, and he's fairly well placed on a lot of big lists in terms of big milestones and career leaders and all that kind of stuff. But the hits don't stop this year. It seems like almost every game he's going to play, Andy, there's going to be another one of these amazing numbers that LeBron ends up achieving.
Yeah, per a compilation over at ESPN, they were just looking ahead to some of the different milestones LeBron could hit this season. Once he plays, he will tie Vince Carter for 22nd season most in NBA history. On December 30th, when he turns 40, he will become the first player in NBA history to play in the NBA as both a teenager and a 40-year-old. He is chasing a different scoring record to become the first player in NBA history to score 50,000 career points combined for the regular season and postseason. If he hits 1364 this coming season, which is about 600 points fewer than last year, and maintains the same points per game, he will hit that mark at game 53. So that seems very, very doable, health assumed. He also only needs 9 more 30-point performances to pass Michael Jordan for the most 30-point games in NBA history. He, for reference, had 22 of those games, LeBron, last year of 30-plus. Also, Brian, this is interesting. I was looking up just different records and wanted to see where LeBron stood on the all-time triple-doubles list. He is 5th, See if you can name the 4 ahead of LeBron.
4 guys ahead of LeBron on the all-time triple-double list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Russ.
Yep. He's number 1.
Magic?
Number 3. I'll give you a hint. He is a player that I believe played with Kareem. I believe played for the
Robertson.
Yes, he's number 2. You know who number 4 you're not going to get? Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is 18 triple doubles ahead of LeBron, despite having been in the league, I don't know, maybe a third of that time. That is staggering.
Mind-boggling statistic.
I mean, it's not shocking that Jokic would have a lot of triple doubles. It is actually pretty surprising that he would have passed LeBron this quickly, this decisively.
I mean, that's a lot. It's lot
130 to 112. And I let me look up Jokic. I would be surprised if Jokic has been in the league 10 years.
That's a tremendous amount. Good for him. It's I mean, one of the things I like to think about with LeBron is if you allowed him,
he's entering his 10th season.
Okay. If you allowed him and Bronny to split LeBron's points and average them out, they would together, they would be the 54th and 55th leading scorers of all time. So Bronny James, if you just take half of his dad's point output, would already be the 55th leading scorer in NBA history.
Now that would be a Nepo baby move.
It's not. I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying
just
that
give him half the points.
It's one of the
I don't think Bronny would accept it either.
We try to avoid too much of the oh my God, isn't it amazing what LeBron is doing at his age? Although almost everything should be qualified with, oh my God, it's amazing what LeBron is doing at his age. But it's a little like Kobe. Like there was the season when, he had that run where, it was how many 50-point games in a row, whatever, or 40 games point plus and all that. And he's just ripping these games off. And you get to the one where he scores the streak is broken and he scores 36. And you're like, you become numb to the greatness that a lot of these guys have. And I think every once in a while, it's important to step back, whether you're talking about the accomplishments of Kobe, of LeBron, of Michael Jordan, if you got a chance to see whoever it is in the game, these guys that are still, and just appreciate how good it is. I think we mentioned this the other day, Andy, the stat that LeBron's numbers the year Bronny was born are basically identical to the stats he had from the year Bronny was drafted. That is insane.
That actually leads to something that jumped to mind to me when I was looking just through this list of achievements potentially awaiting LeBron this coming season on top of all of the other ones that he's banked. That we talk about all the different remarkable elements of LeBron entering season 22, pushing 40 with really no template. But even amongst guys who've played for a long time at a pretty high level, this was something that really jumped out at me. Is damn, one of one stuff that we're talking about. So we can get into that coming up next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, got something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. This is really easy. And again, for a $5 investment, definitely should jump all over this. And as you are getting ready to sign up, you can think about the 24-25 odds for the upcoming NBA season. As of this recording, the Lakers 35-1 to win the title. Anthony Davis 151 for MVP. LeBron 200-1. Max Christie 150-1 for most improved player. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook.
I mentioned THT Andy in passing as a joke. He has actually just signed a partially guaranteed deal with the Bulls, and so it's as good a place as any for him to land, just because that team is hot garbage, and that allows him potentially to make a team here. But it is a reminder, and I don't begrudge THT for the money he got. I hope he still has a chance to catch on and have a long career and all that stuff. But where you look where things have gone since that summer, where the Lakers let Alex Caruso go, who is now seen as potentially the tipping point acquisition potentially for a team like the Thunder, to push them, certainly through the Western Conference into the finals, versus THT, who can't stay in the league, fighting to stay in the league. It is a reminder that the Lakers chose the wrong guy.
The summer of 2021 is going to go down as one of the lowest points in franchise history when it comes to just avoidable bad things that happen. Like some things
trying to climb out.
Look, some things are out of your control. The things that happened, for example, to the franchise post Kobe tearing his Achilles, like those are things that sometimes you just have to fight your way through. There was a recovery after Magic had to abruptly leave the NBA after testing positive for HIV. Like those are scrambling moments that you can't plan for, and sometimes you just have to wade your way through. The summer of 2021, which was the summer of the Russ trade and the summer of choosing THT over Alex Caruso, that, my friends, was avoidable stuff.
In investing and stuff, you have stocks and things like that. People will say, it's not just about picking winners; it's about avoiding the massive loss. You can have 10 stocks that you pick that all go up 15%. And if you have one that goes down 75, and don't do the math here, folks, for me, but like you get the point. One that goes down will drag all of it down. You're not making any money. And so you're right. You're technically correct 8 out of 9 times, whatever, but you have that one big loss. That summer is the big loss, to say the least, for the Lakers. Quick reminder, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers get about $5 and get a 3-week trial for free on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The NFL kicking off in the most literal sense tonight. This is very exciting. You had a point to make about LeBron?
Yeah. In thinking about just, again, that staggering list of potential achievements on top of the achievements that have already been banked and celebrated, like it really just dawned on me and jumped out like how little LeBron has actually needed to adjust his game with age. Like with all this longevity, I'm not saying that there have been no changes, because there have been certain ones. He certainly relies on an outside shot more than he did earlier in his career. We've talked before about over the course of 82 games, there are concessions that need to be made on the defensive end, and they need to be accounted for by the entire team. And that is, I think, more complicated than fans sometimes give credit to, than sometimes I think even media and people covering the NBA and the Lakers give credit to. But fundamentally, LeBron is pretty similar, like remarkably similar to the kid that entered the league. He is still maybe the scariest sight in the league in the open court, in transition, him coming straight at you. And like when you think about somebody like Vince Carter, who was a Hall of Fame player and, an athletic freak at his peak, like Vince Carter's the guy that LeBron's going to be tying for 22 seasons in the league. Vince Carter changed his game a few times over the course of those 22 seasons. And I've said before, I actually think the transformations and different incarnations of Vince Carter's career were actually really interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who like just enjoys basketball and stories, I appreciated a lot of what Vince Carter did, and what guys like Tim Duncan and Dirk, have stayed around for a long. Paul Pierce, like, stayed around for a long time. Like some of the things that they've done. But on the other hand, seeing a guy kind of do nothing to compensate for age, big picture stylistically, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't play defense the way he used to and stuff like that. And I mean,
so do all old players.
In some ways, his game has evolved in the sense like he is a better shooter now than he was by a mile. 17, 18 years ago, like make LeBron take jump shots was the way to beat him. And now obviously that has shifted over the last few seasons, especially. It's one of these things where there in some ways I think he's even scarier in the open floor than he was in the sense that he's got like grown up like freight train body even more than he used to. He was a little bit, he's always been a big dude, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't like quite this, grown man body when he arrived in the league. And it wasn't as refined. It wasn't like it is, the athleticism is not what it was, but he can still rely on athleticism. Remarkably athletic. I would say just like what has changed is his ability to break people down off the dribble, beat people with that first step and stuff like that. He's not quite as, the ability to rise up and finish inside in traffic and stuff like that isn't. Those are the places that you notice the difference. You see the work. You see the work more with LeBron now. You feel the sweat more. Like LeBron does not make this stuff look easy the way that he used to. It's it's very similar to as Kobe's career. Granted, like you started to see, like in Kobe, he used to like to pretend that he wasn't an athlete. You say I was never that great of an athlete and all that kind of stuff. It's like, go, dude, you want a dunk contest? Stop it. But like you would see the technical ability of Kobe much more in the second half of his career as opposed to the first, because he didn't need it as much. He was always dedicated to his craft and stuff like that, but he leaned on the tricks and the craftsmanship and the technical capabilities much more, as all of these guys do as he got older. And it's one of the reasons that I've always found, not last 2 or 3 seasons Kobe, but like that part of his career, the POW section going in between basically winning that 2010 title up to tearing his Achilles. Yeah, that era of Kobe to be more interesting, to be more fun to watch than the three-peat version. I just, it's because he was using so much more of the craft in ways that were less obvious than they were when he was young. But like, it's just, again, I'll say it, he's putting up the same numbers as he did when his kid was born. His kid that he's now teammates with. That is crazy. LeBron has changed his game in the sense that he's expanded it and he's added stuff in the bag. And again, like, it is not identical in the sense that he can just summon all of this otherworldly stuff with the snap of a fingers whenever he wants. Again, that's where you see the aging. But the fact that he hasn't had to really become a different player, like, I'm talk about no template for LeBron, but that really is a no template type thing. Like, it's crazy. It was one of the things, how long have we been covering sports now? Like pretty close to 20 years, something like that. One of the things that really tried to do more of is consciously stop to kind of allow myself to be wowed and have fun with great players. And like, Shohei Ohtani, watch the at bat. Something cool might happen. Patrick Mahomes, as much as I've not, was necessarily like ever really rooting for him, and was often actively rooting against him. Tom Brady, just like certain people who are just transcendent in what they do, because these people, they are technically the same species as the rest of us, but only technically. It is so hard to be this good at anything. But to be the best, I think, in LeBron's case, the best basketball player ever. To be, Tom Brady, arguably the best quarterback of all time, maybe the best football player of all time, and have a chance to see these people. As much as we get into our sort of, and a lot of it's for fun, like, the tribal liking or disliking of a player and all that kind of stuff. Like, part of what you have to, I think, appreciate just about sports is like the opportunity to say, oh yeah, I saw that guy play. I saw that guy live. And why, I know Lakers games are expensive. If you've never had a chance to go see LeBron, go see LeBron. Drive to Sacramento, see him there. Do whatever you can, but like, go see LeBron, go see Ohtani, go see these people so that you can say, I saw him play, because live is different than seeing him, on TV. The continuity thing, Andy, is something that at least we want to start this conversation. We might have to extend it into Friday. Some really interesting numbers from ESPN about comparing continuity around the league and with different teams. And the Lakers present a kind of a fascinating story. So we'll get to that next. A couple of years ago, Andy, the Denver Nuggets were praised for their continuity. They built a program. They got a bunch of people, they kept them together, and they won a title. And that continuity was seen as a major reason that they won. Certainly a major reason they beat the Lakers, had an advantage over the Lakers. And it's something that many people, including ourselves, referenced when the Lakers re-signed the gang that went to the Western Conference Finals and lost to those Nuggets. ESPN has done a very interesting investigation into continuity around the league. And at least for me, it raises all kinds of questions about what we're talking about when we talk about the value of continuity.
Yeah, Neil Payne, who's one of the ESPN eggheads, broke down continuity based on two factors. The first one was share of minutes played, in terms of like the continuity over the last 3 seasons, share of minutes played, like how many of them season 1, season 2, season 3, and also the share of wins above replacement for one particular formula they use, again, over the past 3 previous seasons combined.
Right, the percentage of those guys who are still on the team. So like the amount of minutes that you've used over the last 3 years that are still on the team.
Yes.
Then the 3-year WAR rating that are still on the team. The reason for that is, you might have a bunch of guys at the end of the roster who are less important, who still got minutes, who cut down that first number, but the second number really shows, are you keeping your most important players around?
Right. And the Lakers ended up ranking 5th overall in this formula measuring continuity. They were 10th in terms of the share of 3-year minutes returning, and they were 1st overall in terms of the share of 3-year wins over replacement players returning. The leading returnees, as one would guess, LeBron, AD, Reeves, D'Lo, and Rui. The leading losses were guys.
This was amazing.
Other than Malik Monk, who you remember having a big role that one season, the next 2 were Thomas Bryant and Troy Brown, which were not the 2 guys I would have guessed if I had even thought of.
Like you go back and you're like, Troy played a little bit. Like the bottom line there is just, you're talking about 3 guys The most important of whom is Malik Monk. Like there's not one dude on that list who was a big minutes eater over the last 3 years. It's not on the team right now.
Yeah, and reading this paragraph from Neil Payne, quote, when we think about the James-led rosters over the years, whether in Cleveland, Miami, or Los Angeles, we see a rotating cast of co-stars next to him with plenty of other roster shakeups. Therefore, it's interesting to see the Lakers here as one of the most stable teams heading into 24-25, with each of the last season's 7 highest WAR earners coming back, in addition to having the league's highest share for weighted WAR returning in the past 3 seasons. It's up for debate whether that's a good thing, though. Los Angeles has been outclassed by the Denver Nuggets in the past 2 postseasons, and aside from Reeves, the Lakers haven't had enough top-tier players around James and Davis to compete at the highest level. Now they're basically bringing back the same group to try again. And there's a few things that jumped out at me. First of all, it gets into the idea of how important continuity is, and also to how this season, health presumed, in some ways can be a referendum on Darvin, depending on JJ Redick's success, given that he's going to be dealing with a lot of roster similarities. But also, too, it underscores something you and I've talked about a lot, Brian, just the idea that whether you like the team around Anthony Davis and LeBron or not, the expendability of their supporting players is really low because those are your best wins above replacement players. So it's not just us claiming this. Like, these are the best players on your team, whether you like that or not, whether you think they're good enough or not. It makes it more difficult to just move on from them for the sake of making moves.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have any spare contracts. Like, you don't, like, if you trade someone, you need to fill that gap with someone. It starts to create the question, and this is something we can really dive into even more for Friday's show. Is all continuity created equal? The Lakers chose continuity last offseason. Like, they actively, following the Western Conference Finals 2 off seasons ago, however you want to do the math, chose, let's bring everybody back. We're going to re-sign Rui. We're going to re-sign Russell. We're going to run it back with that group, more or less. This year, this offseason, they sort of had continuity thrust upon them. They couldn't trade D'Lo, both because not enough teams seemed interested, but also the issue you were just referencing, where you can't just trade D'Angelo Russell. You have to replace him with something. And if you dump him because you just want him off the team or this, you're making the team worse. So, you have to figure that out. So they couldn't trade D'Lo. They don't want to trade Reeves, again, for reasons that are totally understandable. I don't know what the market looks like for Rui. And then they didn't have any ability to sign or augment the roster because Reddish, Hayes, and
Wood.
Who's my third guy?
Wood
all opted into their deals. And so continuity,
and Vando and Vincent, given their injury seasons last year, their trade value is very low.
So it just goes to show, sometimes continuity is exactly what you want and it makes sense. And in hindsight, should they have done it the same way with that group last year? I mean, I don't know. It's always easy to say, but I didn't have a problem with them running it back, certainly after the Western Conference Finals, unless there were better avenues to improve that they skipped. But that level of continuity and this level of continuity are completely different things that leave you with completely different feelings about where the team is going and why.
Yeah, I mean, although I do think the first go around of continuity when they re-signed D'Lo, Rui, Reeves, Vando, some of that, we talked about this a lot, was the lack of options to go against continuity beyond Kyrie.
If you don't bring your stuff back, who are you replacing them with?
It's basically Kyrie. Kyrie was pretty much the only option. And without relitigating that whole thing, even if the Lakers had Kyrie as their first choice, it wasn't going to be easy to do. It required Kyrie to take a pay cut. Like, it was not a slam dunk that it could happen regardless of how eager the Lakers were to do it or not.
So, I mean, we'll stay on this a little bit for Friday. We'll kick around more questions from the mailbag. You leave us questions, you leave us comments, and we'll try to answer them. As you can tell, we do read the comments because that's how we know when we make mistakes. 47 people going, "You got the contract wrong," but hey, get it wrong, got to fix it. So we'll keep talking about this for Friday, and I thought this was a really clever framing from Neil Payne and the folks at ESPN, and is worth a little bit more time. So we'll get to it on Friday. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 25,000 subscribers to the show. You could be one of them if you are not already. Again, make Locked On NBA your second listen of the day. Don't even have to search for it. The link is right in the show description. Your team every day. We'll see you tomorrow.